Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome to another video with me. And today I'm going to share with you how I created this small little card just for you. You can scale it up as you wish, but the dimensions that I've used is 9.5 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters. I saw someone post in one of the groups, please can you share with us how to create some smaller sized cards? So here's my answer for you. I'm using Mystic Squirrel. I'm using Mini Flutter from the pound range and one of the stamps from the Heartfelt Verses range. I'm using just one colour, Distress Oxide Selvage Patina, and in VersaFine Clear for my stamping for the sentiment, I've got Warm Breeze. For my embossing, I'm using Wow embossing powder in bright white, and I'm using my Versamark ink pad. So we'll get started. As I said, the first thing that I'm going to do is take my card, which is 9.5 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters, folded it in half. I'm going to take a piece of copy paper and pop it into the middle, and another piece of paper to protect my work as I ink on the edge. So the first thing we're going to do is create this backdrop of colour in Salvaged Patina. And I nearly forgot, one other thing that I've used is this feather leaf stencil. It just creates a tiny bit of texture in the background on our inking. So here we have it all set up. And now I'm going to I've turned my card upside down because I find it easier if I'm going to ink this side and hold this side. So what we want to do is create a block of colour sort of in a diagonal shape, but not making it look like a diagonal at all. I'm taking my inking sponge, blending sponge, and I'm going to start off the card, as we always do, in a circular motion, small circles. That way we don't get scratches, marks, and our colour is evenly placed. So I'm going to bring my colour within about 1.5 centimeters of the edge here. You can see small circles because that way I'm not getting any scratches, pull lines, and I'm keeping this sponge moving in a circular motion. And each time I start off the edge of the card and bring it onto the card, making sure I've got a lot of ink onto my sponge. And there we are, I'm happy with that. That's our first piece of colour placed down. And the next thing that I'm going to do, just to create a bit of texture in that background, is I'm going to tape my feather leaf stencil with my spritzy bottle. And I'm just going to put some water onto the stencil. Tap it off. And then I'm going to place it face down onto my work. Take a piece of kitchen towel or a cloth and just tap it, dab it, so that the water is now trapped between the front of the stencil and my card. And again, dab it. And I'm just going to give that a little blast with the heat gun to dry it off. I don't know, can you pick up that delicate texture there? The next thing that I'm going to do is my embossing. So I'm going to take my ink pad, and no, that doesn't look very clean, but it is. And I'm going to ink up my Mystic Swirl. Beautiful stamp this, it's so delicate. And I've got to the side, I've got my embossing powder ready. But before I do that, I'm going to use my anti-static pad here, just to make sure I don't want this to look like snow. So I'm just going to dab it. So there's chalk inside these. That way, we just make sure that the embossing powder doesn't stick to places where I didn't want it to stick. And then I'm then going to just place this over my stamping, my blending. I'm just going to take my embossing powder, sprinkle it over my stamp. And then give it a blast with the heat gun. It's curled a little, but never mind. That will straighten out with time. And while I've got my embossing powder out, I'm going to do my little butterflies. So I'm going to take a plain piece of card, and I'm just going to take my mini flutter stamp, and again, ink that up. And I'm just going to do 2 or 3. I always like to do a few extra because then I've got them ready for next time. And again, take my embossing powder, sprinkle it over here. And heat set those. I'm then going to take my pair of scissors, just cut off my little piece of card there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the colour to my butterflies by just going like this. Obviously, if you want to put multiple colours on your butterfly, this is the time to do it. Now, having done it that way, you've got a bit of ink on top of your embossing powder. So what I do is just take a piece of kitchen towel, scrunch it up, and give it a bit of a buff or a rub. So you could see before that they were a bit dull, and now they're really bright. So that's what I would do, and then I would cut them out. So we have our butterflies cut out here, and I did manage to cut the little feelers out. If you don't want to do those, you can just draw them in with a white pen. Then I'm just going to use my corner rounder and round the edges of my card. I think with a tiny little card like this, that really just adds something different. My sentiment just for you is the one that I've selected, and I'm going to use VersaFine Clay Warm Breeze for that one. And I'm just going to pop it over here. Fabulous. Now, One other thing that I'm going to do is I created some tiny little splatters. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my palette here. I'm going to take my selvage patina, give it a smush. Wow, it's a very juicy pad. That's one of the new ones and I haven't used it much yet. I did try this card with a darker colour and I wasn't as impressed with, I tried it with a new prize ribbon, but I wasn't as impressed with how it came out. So I like this subtlety of this colour. So you can see I'm just taking my fan brush and I am just mixing it with the water to give me a wash, and I'm just going to lightly splatter. So I'm tapping my paintbrush with another paintbrush to get me the splatters that I want. Okay, I'm just going to move this out of the way because otherwise we're going to have ink splatters. And then finally, I'm just going to take my little butterflies and with my finger, I'm just going to hold it the other side of the body and flick the leaf. No, they're not leaves, are they? The wings up so that we've got one side of the body and the other side of the body. So the body is flat, which is where we're going to glue it onto the card, and the wings are lifted up. And then ever so gently, I'm just going to put a bit of glue onto the back of my little butterfly. And I don't usually do twos, but I felt that with this card, the sentiment gave it the balance. So 3 weren't needed. And this one I'm just going to pop. But you can orient them whichever way you like. And there we have it. Voila! A card just for you. This would make a beautiful little card in a set of notelets, what have you. I do hope you've enjoyed that. I'd love to see what you make. Thanks for watching. Bye.